Enlightenment, Nirvāṇa, Bodhi. It's the goal of an entire spiritual path. But what is it? The common misconception is that enlightenment is a mystical event, a flash of light. A person suddenly gets it, and from then on, they're a perfect, smiling saint who floats above human concerns. And this leads to a skeptical modern question. Okay, prove it. We want a brain scan that shows an enlightenment spot. We want a test. We want measurable proof. And if it's not measurable, then isn't it all just a subjective claim? A nice idea? Wishful thinking? What if the test is real, but we've been looking for it in all the wrong places? Welcome to the Mindful Compass. Today, we're exploring a practical, vital question. Is enlightenment a testable, measurable state, or is it a purely subjective, unverifiable claim? We'll look at how the Dhamma, the Buddha's teaching, is not a system of faith, but a science of the mind. And like any good science, it is based on testable, verifiable results. Why does this matter? Because if the path is not based on results, it can become a fantasy. But if the results are real, it becomes the most practical and profound undertaking of a human life, the verifiable end of our own deepest suffering. The Pali word the Buddha used for his teaching, the Dhamma, is Ehipassiko, which means come and see for yourself. It is a direct invitation to test the hypothesis. The central teaching is that Nirvāṇa, enlightenment, is not an addition of something new. It is the cessation of something old. It is the cooling of the three fevers, or poisons. 1. Greed, lobha, the fever of craving, clinging, and I want. 2. Hatred, dosa, the fever of aversion, anger, and I reject. 3rd delusion, moha, the fever of confusion, ignorance, and not seeing reality clearly. So how do you measure this? The common mistaken analogy is that enlightenment is a graduation diploma. We think it's a thing you get, a static certificate you can hang on the wall that says, I am enlightened. It's a product, an achievement. But how could anyone verify that? A far more accurate analogy is that enlightenment is the cure from a chronic illness. The illness is the constant low-grade fever of the three poisons, which causes all our suffering. So how do you measure a cure? In 2 ways, both testable. 1. The internal, subjective test. The patient knows they are cured. The fever is gone. The pain has stopped. The restlessness is over. They feel a stable, profound well-being that is not dependent on conditions. This is what the texts call pakatam, to be known by the wise, each for themselves. 2. The external, observable test. This is the Dhamma test. How does the cured person now behave? You expose them to a virus of insults. Does the fever of rage return? No. You expose them to a virus of loss. Does the fever of despairing, clinging grief return? No. You expose them to a virus of temptation. Does the fever of desperate, unwholesome craving return? No. The proof is not a new power. The proof is the verifiable absence of the old sickness. The test is life itself. The result is the end of reactivity. That is measurable. So what are the negative side effects of the graduation diploma view? 1. Spiritual grasping. We chase enlightenment. We want to be enlightened. But this wanting is just the fever of greed in a spiritual costume. It takes us further from the goal. 2. Cynical dismissal. If we can't put it in a bottle or a brain scan, we declare it unscientific and unverifiable. We dismiss the entire science of the mind because its laboratory is our own consciousness. The cure model is the practical path. It invites you to run the experiment. The Dhamma is the hypothesis. Your life is the lab. You don't need to test for final enlightenment. You just need to run small daily tests. The hypothesis is that being generous will make me feel less contracted. Let's test it. The hypothesis is that mindfulness of my anger will make it pass faster. Let's test it. This is Ehipassiko. Come and see. This brings us to our practice. It's a simple, daily Dhamma test. This week, the practice is called the fever check. In daily life, we are constantly hit by small fevers of the three poisons. Someone cuts you off in traffic. The fever of dosa, anger, flares up. You see an ad for something beautiful. The fever of lobha, craving, flares up. You feel bored. The fever of moha, delusion, restlessness, flares up. The practice is simply to notice the fever as a symptom. When you feel that hot rush of anger, that tight grip of I want, just pause. In your mind, just label it. Ah, fever. You don't have to cure it in that second. Just seeing it as a fever, instead of believing it as me, is the test. In that moment of mindful recognition, you have just seen the illness and administered the first dose of medicine. Awareness. This is the measurable, testable path. So, is enlightenment testable? Yes. But it's not a diploma you hang on the wall. It is the profound, stable, and verifiable cure from the fever of craving and aversion. It's not a gain of something magical, but the loss of all that burdens us. The test is not, what new powers do you have? The test is, what old suffering have you left behind? What fevers did you notice this week? What did it feel like to simply see them as symptoms rather than as you? Please share your reflections in the comments below. Let's learn from each other's experiments. Thank you for sharing this time, for walking this path with us today. May you be well, and may you find the cool, clear peace that comes from healing the fevers of the mind.